GTA 4's driving physics are the most realistic out of any GTA game ever. Most people don't know how to drive in real life, especially not in a manner they would in GTA 4, so they don't like these driving physics. In this game, the driving model puts a big emphasis on the weight of every vehicle. For example, let's say you're cruising on the block in an Escalade. Big ol' heavy SUV. You going probably 80, 100 miles per hour, or really any speed for that matter, and then you slam on the brakes. All of the weight of the car is going to be shifted to the front of the car, and you can see that in real time of how the suspension handles, how like the whole car kind of like lifts up a little bit in the rear and gets a little bit lower in the front. That's realistic. That's exactly how an Escalade would handle in real life if you were to slam on the brakes. Now, another thing you have to think about when you're playing a video game on a controller, you're not moving your fingers that much, but pushing down the brake all the way is gonna slam the brakes. And especially with the steering, you don't have to move your thumb much at all to have the entire steering wheel turned in one direction. Or in other words, joystick turn a little, car turn a lot. That's why when you're flying through the city and then you abruptly turn really hard in one direction at a very high rate of speed, you may just completely spin out and crash, because that's exactly what would happen in real life. You can't turn the steering wheel all the way in one direction, go in a high rate of speed, and suspect nothing bad to happen. That's just not realistic. And another really important thing you have to think about is that in general, every car in this game is actually a heavy car in real life. Especially the muscle cars are from like the 80s or the 90s. And pretty much all muscle cars, even to this day, just handle like boats. They handle terrible. So if you have this big ol' heavy floaty suspension and you're turning this car hella fast and flooring the gas, that's why you can't drive. You can't do that in real life or in GTA 4 if you want to drive correctly. You're going to have to hit the brakes a little bit before you turn. Don't accelerate too hard through the turn. Things like that. Now, yes, there's other cars that are like, more early 2000s and like newer cars in the GTA 4 universe, since the game takes place in like, 2007? But even these cars are still heavy cars. Like the one car that's clearly trying to be an S-Class, that's a very heavy car. The Chrysler 300, the Chevy Impala. Well, the Chevy Impala is not super duper heavy, but the early 2000s Impala is definitely way floatier and heavier feeling than the newer ones, or just newer cars in general. The Crown Vic is a very iconic floaty handling car in real life. So in GTA 4, I would say this car specifically is fairly realistic. In GTA 4, there's all kinds of little bumps in the road, potholes, and things like that that can affect the handling of your car. If you're flying over a bump that looks relatively small, but you're going like 120 miles per hour, you can still spin out and lose control of the car, because that little bump is going to make the whole car like move a little bit different, potentially throw off the balance and make the suspension handle in a way that you may not be ready for. And the suspension in this game is very realistic, because even if you're just going over little potholes, you can see the suspension, like the whole car moving up and down exactly how it would in real life. You can also sometimes catch the car bouncing a little bit as it shifts through the gears, especially in the older muscle cars where it would be more pronounced. But JC, what about sports cars? Well, sports cars actually do handle a lot better than most other cars in the game. If you take out a Comet or Corvette, a Banshee, or like the Lamborghini, whatever that's called, these drive a lot different than like the normal sedan or SUVs and whatnot. And I know a lot of people in this game be whipping around the SUV and like having a hard time. That car weighs like 7,000 pounds, something crazy. It's a very heavy car, and you're turning the wheel a lot and hitting the gas a lot. You're just not driving the car right. The driving physics of the game is not the problem, you're the problem. Just look at this. In this clip right here, I'm driving a sports car, and it's not too floaty. Like, yeah, you can see the weight moving around, because like I said, the whole driving model plays like a big emphasis on the weight, but it's way more plain to the ground than, let's say, an SUV or even some sedans and whatnot. Another extremely important thing that I almost forgot to mention that I have not heard anyone talk about in this discussion of the GTA 4 driving physics is that every single car you drive has traction control turned off. And I have proof of this. If you hop in any car right now, I don't know if Nico is just a menace and he thinks he's a professional drifter, he immediately turns off the traction control as soon as he hops in the car, because You can do burnouts. You can burn the rubber. You can drift. You can do things that is physically impossible to do with traction control turned on. Don't believe me? Load into GTA 4, hop in any car, and then put the brake and the gas down all the way at the same time, and you'll immediately start doing a burnout. How could you do a burnout if you had traction control turned on? This also means then, as you're driving at high rates of speed, it's going to be easier to lose control because there's no driver assistance. There's no traction control to save you when you swing the car too hard. You have to actually Kanye steer and save the car if you begin to lose it. And if you don't know what Kanye steer is, you're probably too young to be playing this game in the first place, but that goes back to what I said at the beginning of this video. Most people don't know how to drive in real life, especially in the manner you would in GTA 4. The average player may be a poor driver in this game. And I have proof of this, because me personally, when I was a kid and I didn't know how to drive in real life, I was really bad driving in this game compared to now. Because when I hopped on today to get some gameplay for this video, you could probably notice, even in the SUVs and the big old sedans and whatnot, I'm maneuvering these cars very nicely because I've learned a lot of skills from playing other really realistic games like BeamNG Drive with like an actual steering wheel and pedal setup, like a whole sim setup, a Assetto Corsa, and I also have years of real life driving experience. I'm merely hopping into GTA 4 after not playing this game for money moons. I'm a way better driver off rip because I'm applying real life tactics that you would use in like BeamNG Drive, or like actually driving a car in like a racing format like you would in GTA 4 because you're driving like a menace in GTA 4. It's actually useful tactics because the driving physics are so realistic. Now, of course, having a more realistic driving model is going to give it like a less beginner friendly driving experience, but it's a way more rewarding driving experience after you get it down. For me, an actual skilled driver in real life and in like the really realistic video games like BeamNG Drive and whatnot, it's extremely satisfying to pull off crazy moves in this game just on a controller. If it was super easy and arcadey like GTA 5, it just wouldn't be as fun. And not that long ago, I was cutting up for a video in GTA 5, and yeah, it was okay to cut up in GTA 5 and like a fast BMW or something, but the BMW handled super unrealistic. It felt like it had super glue on the tires and hella downforce, which a E60 M5 just doesn't have that. Like, yeah, it probably handles okay, but if you saw how it was moving in that video, you physically can't move like that in real life. Now, yes, it's a video game. There's going to be some maneuvers you're going to make that you definitely should not be making in real life in any of these video games, even GTA 4. But I hope you're starting to see what I mean by the GTA 4 driving physics are realistic and underrated. Like, trust me, even if you don't like the driving physics in this game right now, if you master the driving model and learn how to properly maneuver a vehicle, you would love this game. Like, you would want to hop in this game and just drive around the city for fun. Don't over and play no missions, don't over and hop out with the switch and shoot random civilians or cops. Just driving around can be very rewarding and satisfying. Like, you're telling me watching this gameplay has not been satisfying for you at all throughout this video, as you see these vehicles maneuver through the tight gaps and, you know, drift a little bit and turn in the ways I'm turning these cars. Like, come on, you probably want to do that too. Regardless of what you think, I want to hear from you in the comments, like your thoughts on the GTA 4 driving physics after you have been given all this information from this video. And if you want to see another GTA video from me, watch this one on screen.